All right, welcome everybody. We'll call to order the Grand Forks City Council meeting for Monday, February 3rd. If we get a roll call, please, Maureen.
Yep. Weigel.
Here.
Osowski. Here. Berg. Here. Lensky. Here. Friedhoff.
Here.
Veen.
Here.
And President Sandy.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, item 1.3, Mayor's announcements. Just a couple of announcements. I guess it was 2 Thursdays ago, January 23rd, we had the chamber dinner, very well attended, lots of positivity in the business community, so it was great to take part of that. And then I spoke at the Surveyors Convention, so we've had a Surveyors Convention that comes here once every 3 or 4 years. A good group of guys highlighted the fact that 150 years ago, when the town was getting platted, they're still using some of those same lines as their starting point even today. So pretty interesting, a great group, not super talkative, but I know they work hard. So with that, that's all for Mayor's announcements. So we'll move on to 2, awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations.
2.1 is a legislative update.
All right, we got Mr. Bernstrom there. He has his double duty tonight.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. Yes, so a busy week when it comes to the North Dakota legislature. Already this week, Mayor Wojcinski, Mr. Phelan, you guys were in Bismarck this morning, sitting in on a hearing on House Bill 1332. That is the agribusiness grant program through the Department of Ag. Has $30 million in it. A very positive meeting. We've had good positive committee meetings on that one. It got through policy, is now on appropriations. No vote on it yet, but a good positive meeting. Coming up tomorrow, this is an interesting one. House Bill 1613 is a bill that makes it illegal for police departments to use drones or robots without a warrant. So you think of a bomb squad, right? They need that robot. So we're providing some testimony in opposition to that one. Just I think there's some unintended consequences that the drafters of that bill came up with. On Wednesday, Senate Bill 2376. Now, based on your discussion you have later on today, that is the gaming bill that carves out Grand Forks County. That is Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. I do believe we'll have some representatives there, again, depending on how the discussion goes today. But that is on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And then finally, on Thursday at 11 a.m. in the House Political Subdivisions Committee, it's House Bill 1537. And this bill has to do with water agreements based on some of the situations we're in where you get a municipal water running into a water district or rural district in the agreements that are in place. This bill is there to help protect political subdivisions that have been working on an existing agreement. That bill is on Thursday. I know Mr. Gosted's going to be there on Thursday for sure. With that's this week. We're kind of taking it 1 week at a time. So I'd be open to any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Bernstrom? You must have done it so well. They've got no questions. Thank you, Mr. Bernstrom.
That's right. Thank you very much.
2.2, 2025 Streets and Transportation Update.
Mr. Grasser, I'm imagining you're going to get some questions, so please.
Well, we'll see. Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. First of all, I want to thank my staff here. Ed Liederman put the presentation together, and in between Ed and Dave, they're the ones that actually get all the work done. So I'm just up here doing part of the update. We're going to do pretty comprehensive. We're going to start out with a higher overview, and then we're going to end up with the 2025 construction map. So with that, I think some feel-good stuff here, some congratulatory items. Periodically we go through, about every 3 or 4 years, we go through and have the pavements evaluated on condition, and that's, how are they performing, how do they ride, things like that. And this is a map. This goes back to 2016. This is just before we implemented the last sales tax. That was infrastructure-related sales tax. It's really busy, right? Don't pay a lot of attention to the individual numbers. What we did in here is we took this and tried to put them into categories. You can see on the far left In red, you've got the reconstruction. It gives you the number of miles, roughly give you an idea of the dollars per mile that it costs to do that kind of activity, and then the total, I'll call it liability, that's within that particular category. Then moving to the right, where the paving is a little bit better, you can go to major rehab. These are projects you've seen where we've done like maybe panel replacement, a lot of panel replacement, but not necessarily taking the entire roadway out. Again, you got miles, cost per mile, and dollars in there. Again, moving to the right from there, you've got minor maintenance. This is more like the mill and overlay type work, seal coats, those kinds of things, that are out there on the roadway. Again, you can see the costs as the roads are in better condition, the costs of doing the work get quite a bit less. So what they teach us in the industry is you want to try to catch it at the minor and rehab areas before you get into the really heavy cost of the reconstruction. And then back in 17 or 16, we had the no action. Those are basically roads that are in pretty good shape, don't need any immediate efforts. Jumping to 2024, this is 8 years of 8 years of sales tax collections, and you can see pretty dramatic change. If I toggle back and forth here a little bit between some of those, you can see the reconstructions went down quite a bit. Again, reductions in major rehab, minor maintenance, and the no action alternative option really went down. There's a lot of improvements on the street. I think a lot of that had to do with, we've done a lot of miles of mill and overlay. You get a lot of work done with relatively minor cost, and it brings those up into a really good condition. That doesn't mean you can ignore them now for the next 20 years, but we made really, really good progress in that. Particularly, I'll note that during the COVID years there, 2020 and 2021, when there wasn't a lot of work out there, man, we got a lot of work done for the dollars. We really, really nailed it, in contrast to what's going on in the more near term, which will lead me into some of the sales tax economic performance update. This is a graph. We tried to normalize some of the costs over time. Point out that the red line really is a depiction of the dollars that we're collecting on the sales tax going into the road work. You can see that the slope of that line. The other lines are just grabbing some of the major items that go into our projects. 6-inch concrete pavement, 8-inch concrete pavement, things like that. The specifics are not particularly important other than paying attention to the slope of the line. You can see where inflation is really starting to kick us relative to the dollars that we're able to generate off of our funding. This particular funding source, which is the sales tax. And I've got some maps that'll go into that. What we did is some of this first map here is what we went back to like 2023, which is our CIP, which showed what happened kind of before we started getting the ravages of inflation. Remember 2023, we actually produced a lot of that work in 2022, but and it also, we brought in the really once in a lifetime type projects. We got the 42nd interchange underpass came in, and the 47th interchange started, so we started populating those costs in within our cash flows. And if I can do this right. So here's a couple of the first map. This one basically shows some of the projects that we ended up kicking out into some of the more out years as you're working with your cash flow. We're bringing in expenses and dealing with inflation. It's a map of some of the projects that basically had to get moved farther out. Most of these were the larger, the reconstruction projects. You'll see here in the map in green, some of those were going to be reconstruction. We did reprogram them within the next 6-year CIP to be probably overlay and mill and overlay type projects. In other words, you're doing maintenance on that, trying to stretch them out until you can absorb the higher cost. Also not on this map, there are dollars in the 6-year CIP. We have also have in there that's not shown. There's about $1 million a year that's going into mill and overlay projects. Can't show them because they bounce around too much. And then there's also $500,000 a year that goes into subdivision development. Usually when a new subdivision comes in, it's going to end up needing a classified road of some sort, especially when you break into the newer areas. This is kind of a sneak look at what we think the next 6-year CIP might start to look like. This brings in our local dollars, and it also brings in federal dollars. There's a lot of color on there. A lot of the colors are maintenance projects. We do have them penciled out here by year. You will see that in the next 6-year CIP, we do get into the construction side of 42nd grade separation and the 47th interchange. I will point out, on the interchange, a lot of our local dollars are actually the connecting streets. Obviously, the interchange needs to go to places, right, both east and west. And so part of this is showing the interconnection of the street network that would go along with that. And this next map here is the 2025 construction map. Now, this shows a lot of projects, not all the projects. It's showing the larger project and project areas. Earlier in the staff report, I think on about page 3, they talk about, there's a table there of the projects and the dollars. The dollars in that table are the local dollars. The 19.8 is the local dollar contribution. So we've got quite a robust project going this year, but some of the dollars are carryovers that we started last year. We're still working on the Columbia Road overpass. We're still working on Washington Street. We're continuing work on kind of the Highway 81 development area. Another one you probably haven't heard much about, it'll be coming in next cycle, is the Corinta area. This is a subdivision expansion that's been in the works here for quite a few years here, 3 years, just trying to get momentum on getting it put together. There's been a lot of permit applications that we need to get from the Corps of Engineers. I'll skip the details, but anyway, that's a subdivision that looks like it's going to come in this year, at least the start of it. And we do have some, on 47th Interchange, as you recall, we did talk about getting a grant. We have a grant for some work along 47th Avenue South, so some of that is contingent on picking up right away. We're going to be starting some of that project. One of the other things I'm going to mention this area, University Park Neighborhood Association, that's really, I think it's really a success story. We've had the neighborhood up there get very involved in sidewalks and things. There's been a group, I think they even presented here last year, interested in getting the sidewalks up to speed. And so, they came and talked to us about what can we do to get some of the neighborhood sidewalks upgraded. And along with that, they are also working with some outside agencies to garner grants. My understanding is they've got about $40,000 worth of grants that they can apply to, the single-family type homes up there. So what we will do is put together part of the list on the sidewalks. We looked at the priorities, worst first kind of things. And so we'll start bringing those in as part of a sidewalk list. But to help the neighborhood, they're going to, on the private side, look at providing some grants and funding to help those. It's not quite a public-private partnership, but it kind of is. We're not tied to them on the grant side. We're doing kind of our normal sidewalk activity. It's just that we're taking a little bigger bite this year. We're looking at it from a neighborhood perspective. Last thing I will note, if you think about the slides and things that we had produced here, I talked mainly about the funding that came from the sales tax, but we also have, other sales tax, we have state money that comes in, particularly Prairie Dog, and we do have federal dollars that come in. Those are really, really important funding sources for us. So again, as we work with our legislators at the state and both the federal level, we're trying to keep those income sources coming. And you may hear more about that in the coming state legislature. So without those, this map would have a lot less color on them. So with that, are there any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Grasser? All right, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your
Thank
team
you.
and all the work you continue to do.
All right, 2.3, Altru Sports and Aquatics Complex Update.
Mr. Phelan, please.
Mayor Buchenski, members of City Council, we made some progress on the Altru Sports Complex, so we're excited to show you the progress that we've made. And so Adam Davidson's here on behalf of JLG, and I see Oliver Finneman is here on behalf of the construction manager from McGough. So I think they're going to team up and give you an update on where we're at currently. And then at the very end, I think there's a short video we want to kind of show you a fly through of this facility as it's starting to take shape. So with that, I'd call on Adam and Oliver to come on up here.
Mr. Davidson, Mr. Finneman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Glad to be here today. So I'd like to cover a design update with the Altru Sports Complex. I'm going to cover basically a project timeline update. Plan deliverables, really where are we at today and where are we going in the next 3 to 5 months, which are really important timelines for the project, including interaction with all of you. Also, stakeholder engagement update, talk about the design progress we made with all the stakeholders that we've engaged over the course of the last 2 to 3 months during design development, and then cover a little bit of quality control in terms of where we're at on the estimate and the budget. Making some really good progress as we work towards that budget number of 110 million. So I'll give you an update there on where we're heading. And then we'll follow up with a little animation fly through at the end to talk about, if we get a little visual about what we're seeing and what we're doing here, and hopefully that'll give you excitement about where the design is going. So first, project timeline update. So right now we are about 70 to 75% complete with what we call the design development phase. Right now we're working towards 100% completion in this phase for final plans and specs for this phase at the end of February, so within the next month. As part of that, we're also working towards our very first, what we call a GMP procurement package. This is about 30% of the project that we would have ready and put out to bid. And what we're looking for as a timeline is to work with the council as we come into March to present that package, what that entails, and to talk about what that means in terms of what we're asking. This 30%, again, represents a lot of the site infrastructure that we'll be working with the city engineering department. This also reflects a lot of the early things in terms of foundations, footings, earthwork, structural steel, precast, all those long lead items that we want to get out early. And the reason why we'll be looking for a 30% in that initial package is really to help with two things. One is cost and also schedule. And so what we'll be doing is reviewing that package with you, asking for permission in March. And you can see here we have 2 dates outlined. The city, committee of the whole meeting on March 10th and the council meeting on March 17th. And this would be where we would review this package with the council, hope answer any questions about what it is and what we're intending to do. The intent of this is not to ask for any formal approval. What it's really asking is the ability to go out and get hard, real numbers on 30% of the project. At the same time that we're doing that, we're also going to have a complete 100% DD estimate update of the whole project. So the intent, if you look at the schedule here, is when we come back to the committee of the whole and the council in May, actually before that, we'll have a complete update with the McGough team on the cost estimate of the building, and part of that, 30% approximately, will be hard numbers. What that shows, it gives us a really strong forecast and a really strong showing of what we can anticipate in the market as we go out to finalize the project and bidding. So there's still a few months left of that work. Just want to give you guys an update on where we're heading on that, as well as kind of what we'd be expecting to look for with the council in reviewing. We've also been doing quite a bit of continued work with the stakeholder group. So we meet 3 workshops that we've held during the design development phase. We meet with the school district, we meet with the park district, we meet with various youth programs and community members. We meet with Altru, who is a primary donor throughout this process. And again, really it's to get their feedback and to work with them as the key users and the operators to ensure that we're moving towards, right sizing and right designing the building. Just real quick here, I won't spend a lot of time on this slide, but what this is showing is basically the mission statement and really the backbone of the project that these stakeholders have really developed themselves through the process, and also are owning through the process as well. Helps us make decisions, helps us keep on task as we do get to some challenging points in time where decisions are hard to make in terms of budget, what we have to do. So really just to kind of focus on, community, focus on, I think, the idea of economic potential, and I think also, inclusion for everybody. and also, in terms of doing this in a way that's flexible and responsible, not only for today, but for tomorrow. So some of the key things that this group and the stakeholder group thought was very important for the success of the project as we move forward. Real quick here, I'll run through the plans as they are today. As you can see that the overall plan is very similar to the last time you have seen this at the end of SDs, to begin DDs a few months ago. Just a lot more detail, and that's exactly what design development is. It's providing the necessary detail to ensure that we can scope out the project, work towards a very a high level of confidence in a cost estimate to what we want to do. So again, as you can see here, north is up in this plan. The natatorium with the 50-meter competition pool. We do have a 5-lane, 25-yard instructional pool as part of this project here. It was 4, it's now 5. We just did some horse trading with some of the pool deck for the competition pool. So the building didn't grow necessarily. It just was a better use of some of the warm water that would help support, the either instructional and some of the swim safety program that was really important with that secondary pool. In between is all of our locker spaces, a lot of our multi-purpose for wet use, everything we need there to support the natatorium. As you can see over on the left, there is the turf. I will get to that here in just a second in some of the program there. But turf, as you've seen it before, overall 100 yards with end zones, 100-meter sprint track, as well as a 50-yard sprint turf area as before. 8 pickleball courts on the south, so we have maintained that as last time. Full size in terms of what you could do for a tournament. And then all the support spaces in between, which would be multi-purpose, a lot of support spaces for storage, workspaces, restrooms, etc. And last thing too is over in the kind of bottom right-hand corner, which would be the southeast portion, would be a lot of the administration on the Park District and their offices, the main concessions, and central kitchen for the project as well. Second level, the mezzanine as we call it. The biggest change here is the inclusion of the alternate, the elevated walking and running track. So you can see that there, 3 lanes above the turf. It is fully integrated into the design of the facility. It'd still be considered an alternate. So at the time of bidding, we would get pricing broken out separately to make sure that it comes in to a point where if the city does want to accept it. So it's really part of our risk management. However, the main structure of the turf would be able to accommodate that in terms of design later down the road if for some reason it could not make it into the base project at this time. So doing what we can to be responsible in planning for this element, which we do know is a very popular element for a lot of community members. Also, too, on the natatorium side, just to recap there, that we are still looking at about 834 as far as seating capacity for the natatorium. That has been worked out with, for example, the school district and what they anticipate for state meets for boys and girls. Swimming and diving, and that's really been the driver for that portion of it and maintaining that seating capacity. This here, there's a lot, kind of the seizures for some people, I believe sometimes, but this is not a striping plan. What's really important about this is to showcase all the program that we can do with this facility. Again, this is a full-size football, soccer, and lacrosse field for high school. And when I say full size for football, it's 100 yards plus end zones. As an example, with the Fargo Sports Facility, that's 80 yards and end zones. This is truly a full size football field. Along with that, we have the ability to divide up the spaces in thirds to support youth programming as well. So if we talk about 10U or 9U soccer and lacrosse, we have the ability to do so. You can see in here we have cricket. We've had field hockey. And we also have baseball and softball. We have batting cages. We have sprint turf. We have sprint track. This is a very flexible space, but it can be programmed for a lot of different things that we can do. And so what the intent of this is to show just that. We still have seating capacity in there with tip and row bleachers along the south side to be able to support various types of events. And again, the elevated walking track, and then also some elevated seating on the east side would be also there as well to support some of those spectator events. So I'm going to get into some of the design aspects to showcase where we have evolved into what we consider to be the final design as is today. This design has been reviewed not only with the stakeholders, but also with Altru as part of the main donor, and with the city too through our advisory team meetings over the last month. Real quick here, this has been a very long process, but a very good process. And really what we talk about is we go through a discover, define, and develop phases to really try and find a way to develop an authentic design for this project, for this community. And so we've had a lot of interaction with the stakeholders. We've had a lot of what we call visual listening to kind of their input and ideas on what this could look like and what it wants to look like. And what we do is we develop design threads, and these threads are kind of what they sound like. They're really kind of a thread that takes us all the way through the project. Helps us really navigate tough decisions, but also decisions on, materiality and color, and again, a lot of the conceptual design work that really makes this facility its own unique and authentic design. So with that, we developed 3 primary design threads. The first one is locality. This one's really built on the feedback we got about, our area of the country, the upper Midwest, the plains, in terms of our environments, the natural resources we have, the people that are here, the welcoming nature and the 4 seasons, and the idea of what that does in terms of, I think what's really great about some of these shots is that warmth, that hearth you see in the winter. It's really important about trying to capture some of that natural environments, as well, again, as the welcoming nature. So as far as material palettes, this is some of the things that we look to as how does that represent locality in terms of the design of the building. Activate. Really what it is. This is a sports complex. And so working through a lot of the various activities in there, how that can inform motion, how that can inform color and movement through the spaces. The pinwheel becomes really an important piece and, sort of a metaphor for how we navigate through in terms of wayfinding and access to the facility. And lastly, visionary. This one really spoke to a lot of the things that we do here with the university. I think in terms of Altru and other, businesses and manufacturers that really do a lot within this area, whether it be agribusiness, aerospace, the visionary things that they do and how do we capture that in a facility to really kind of hone in on that. So with that, what we've come to is a design that really focuses on 3 primary masses: our turf, our aquatics, and the pickleball. Understanding our budget constraints and working through efficiency and structure, efficiency materials, we've really developed what we think is a strong design and taking a static element and applying those features of activate and motion and energy, and looking at these simple color palettes that are soft, that work in terms of being sleek and some of that visionary, and working in some of those natural tones you work through. So real quick, I'll have a video at the end. I'll walk through these stills. We can always come back and answer questions, but here's a kind of an aerial shot looking northwest here, about 42nd. You can see the main entry, the primary parking. You can see that pickleball pattern that's over there with inner displaced with daylighting in terms of probably some of that it'd be non-glare. We're talking about not clear glazing, but actually the ability to bring in daylight. That's not going to have that effect on as you play pickleball and other events. But again, really trying to focus on efficiency, locality, visionary, and some of that activity and activate articulation. Seen here from 42nd, looking northeast, you can see the primary entry. You can see the introduction of very subtlety of colors to really try and do what we can to provide some of the activation interest and really being specific to the volumes and what's happening on the inside. You can see on the aquatics on the right, the natatorium as it fronts 42nd, and utilizing some of the blues as a way, to identify those spaces. Over on the pickleball, using colors that maybe are in the warmer hues. And then on the north side, you'll start to see here again, 42nd, the natatorium, the interspace of some of those, wood-looking materials. Again, very simple, efficient, sleek materials, but also some of that daylighting. And on the north side, too, kind of the same idea with the turf, to be able to have some of that glazing for the elevated walking track, but also for the interior. Again, working really hard to bring value to where we do have glazing, to where we do have those materials, to really hit our budget, but also working to create really quality environments within as well, but also having an appearance too that does look like something to be proud of with the sports complex and where it's at in a very prominent location. Really here in the main entrance too, really talking about that idea that, as you walk up, especially in those winter months, to have that idea of here I am, here's the entrance, having that idea of hearth and warmth as you approach, to really provide, I think some of that kind of calming before you'd enter into really allow the activation of the spaces. And on the left side there, you can see some of that articulation with the glazing too, right? That idea of bringing some of that patterning to it. Again, evoking motion and activation through a static element, which is simple use of materials, colors, and patterns. A very simple material palette, very, very simple. We're talking about really, I would say, 2 types of materials, both metal panels and a smooth finish, corrugated finish, very soft colors and whites and grays to really kind of give that, again, kind of speaks to that visionary aspect of it. Wood-looking elements, not real wood, but wood-looking in terms of, maintainability, longevity, but providing some of that warmth, probably some of that kind of locality we see in our natural environment. And then literally spurts of color to activate that, but use that in kind of a way that's not going to be something of the time, something that's going to be a trend, something that's going to be lasting, something that's going to have a little bit of no, I guess lasting is probably a good way of putting it. With that too, how this correlates to the design of the site. So as you can see here, real quick, the site is, a lot of this here is going to be focused on the main plaza, but really just a very simple, efficient use of site infrastructure. And we really worked hard with the city engineering department to really lay this out in terms of parking, access. One of the things is really taking a hard look at how we move people through the parking lot to the front entrance. I'll kind of go back and forth here a little bit, but using really dedicated crosswalks throughout so that we have safe passing of people as they come through the parking all the way to the north. The intent is to really draw your eye up into the main plaza. You have your main drop-off. We'll have planned for a cat bus drop-off and pickup as well. We'll have kind of low pedestal type lighting to really help with some of that wayfinding to get you there, landscaping, and some very simple elements to help support some of those exterior environments at the main entrance. On the east side, there is a small area, kind of an extension of the interior lounge space for exterior space that would be there. So when you have those long events and those times of the year where you can extend out to the exterior, that east patio on the right there would provide that opportunity, and also provides really a great edge for 42nd, which would be a very heavy traffic area, and the bike path. Toggling back real quick here, a lot of our service staff parking happens at the north. It doesn't mean that it's going to be, an exposed area in terms of, trash receptacles and things like that. We have screening, we have landscaping to really help provide a very soft edge along the north as you come from 42nd and visit the building. And then you can see here at the south and how some of the future program of the site, whether it be the Children's Museum and some other future development, will start to integrate with the site here. And then also the support of Hugo's Raceway. So really important that all three major components of the site, Hugo's Raceway, the sports complex, Children's Museum, and any future development has the ability to adapt and really integrate well with the layout. Again, this is part of the, as you can see, are part of the package that we would be going towards early on. So a lot of the site concrete work, a lot of the landscaping, the utilities are all things that we've worked hard to get to a final state and ready for bidding. The interior, I'll try and go quick through here. There's quite a bit here, but we really looked at two main options with the stakeholder groups on how we can look at interior. If you recall before, I talked about the pinwheel effect, and really the idea is that we really developed a scheme that has very simple wayfinding through a pinwheel. And you really have a main entrance where you could walk in, you have the main lobby lounge, kind of the living room of the facility, and you can see all three major volumes. You can see into the aquatics, you can see into the turf, you can see into pickleball. Each space has its own identity in terms of how we can really program that from a wayfinding standpoint, and then how we can really create a different feel and environment for those spaces not within the actual activities themselves. So the intent is to really develop a scheme that celebrates the activity within the volumes, right, within the natatorium, within the turf and the pickleball, whether that be through color and graphics and things like that, but then take a step back in a more of a subdued approach, more of a timeless approach to a lot of the common areas. So introducing natural elements, we'll have polished concrete, you can see some wood-looking elements in terms of some of the sound baffles that we're looking, and then possibly looking at really some black and white or sepia type graphics on the wall to celebrate. Could be anything with the Grand Forks community, past events, photos of Hislop, Cushman Classic, things like that. But really provide a place in these lobby lounge and circulation areas that's a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more relaxing than the activity you would experience within the spaces themselves. Here we're looking north down the main axis. You can see right into the turf. One of the lounge areas that would be there to support events that will have basically TV displays for if you're there for an event in the natatorium. Have that ability to watch those from really any point within the building. The main stairs up, but you can see here a very calming, very simple palette that we work on. And then when you're within the volume of space, as we work on that, letting the turf be what it is and celebrating that and really exploring color and materials from that aspect. Same with pickleball, same idea. Kind of turning back towards our concessions, towards the kind of the main entry and office area. Again, just a very simple, I think also timeless too, not get carried away with how color we use and how it can be really subjected to the point in time and our trend, but really trying to find a way to make sure this is a timeless looking building. And here you can see here too, looking at the elevated mezzanine level, kind of lobby lounge spaces. Again, you can see into aquatics, you can see in the natatorium, you can see into pickleball right to our left, and really that pinwheel idea and utilizing that for the design of the facility. Okay, last slide here, and I do have Oliver with me who can help run through this. But real quick, what we want to give you is a project update on the budget estimate. And so what we're showing here are 3 cost models that we've completed over the time of the project. We have a couple that were in SD, schematic design, and then we have a current one that just took place based off our what we call our quality control review, about 75% DD. We just completed that over the last couple of weeks. With the base project, right now we're looking at a construction estimate value. I'm going to hone in on just the 1/24/25 update. But right now the construction estimate, which does exclude the site work, as well as the alternate costs at the bottom of the page, is $105.5 million roughly right now. The instructional pool is included in that value. And on top of that, we do have what we call the soft costs, so design fees, testing. We're not including owner contingency and FF&E at this standpoint, but for a total base project of 115.9 is where we stand today. As you can see, we've made I think some very positive progress from our SD back in December, and we'll continue to do so as we work through and define the project, taking out the uncertainty and having more certain forecasts. So contingencies coming down, escalation being taken out, so we're making the right move. But you can see we're still currently at a 5.9 deficit over the budget. We are tracking a few alternates. One I mentioned before, the elevated walking track at about 3.8. And then we do have a few other ones to deduct and air conditioning for the turf volume, and a couple other larger ones in terms of movable partitions. So doing what we can to isolate certain areas of the program so that, if push comes to shove, we have ability to not accept alternates and keep on the budget as we work towards it. And one thing to note too, at the very bottom, you can see here that the construction estimate, I mentioned this briefly, and I can have Oliver come in at this point in time and explain this probably more clearly, but we are holding a decent conservative amount of contingency just due to we are at design development. We're not done yet. We still got work to do. So we want to make sure we protect ourselves, protect the city in terms of where we're at. But you can see there's a large amount for design and estimating contingency, about 7.1. Also for escalation, which is going to 2026 in terms of midpoint of construction. And we do have some construction contingency that we do want to maintain and hold through the course of the project. However, that could come back at the end if things go well, and that goes back to the city. So I'll turn this over to Oliver to chime in here and take any points that maybe I missed or clarify anything that maybe I...
Yeah, yeah, thanks, Adam. So, yeah, I think the big picture, this is, from a trending standpoint, this is what we want to see, that especially when we have budget challenges, that from estimate to estimate, we're starting to see the cost trend down, right? That we're getting closer and closer to where the budget is. If you start to see costs creep up, that usually indicates that you've got a bigger problem. So, what these are indicating is that from the schematic design estimate that you saw back in September, we've done a lot of work to find ways to reduce the cost of the project, looking at different building types, different finishes, etc. Just making good design cost-related decisions that project costs continue to trend down. And keep in mind, these are what you're looking at are all estimates right now. This isn't what the final cost of the project is. That happens after we go out and we get subcontractor bids, like Adam was talking about here just a minute or two ago. Positive news, we still have some work to do, but there's always a factor in there of what kind of bid day that you have, right? Recently, we've been seeing the good interest in the market. So we hope that continues on. And then the other kind of risk mitigation factor that we have in there are the contingencies. So the two that will dramatically drop off the next time you guys see a number will be the design and estimating contingency and the escalation. As we get more information, as we get bids, we will continue to bring those contingencies down. So, so I'll say, so long as the design trends in the right direction and there's not, crazy things that happen in the market, we're hoping to recognize some savings from those. So, between those two, there's about $11 million just in those contingencies. So by the time that the project is all bid out, those contingency dollars will be zero, and we'll just have our construction contingency that gets essentially carried all the way through to the end of the project to kind of, mitigate any of those things that do come up during construction. So, yeah, I think that's all I've got on that.
Thanks, Oliver. And just to reiterate, too, timeline is that we are looking at April as when we would have that updated DD estimate where you would see that reduction in terms of a lot of the escalation, in terms of a lot of the design contingency, and then in May, we would actually have 30% of that be actual bid numbers, and that's the goal we're trying to get to understand what we're really dealing with at that point in time, reforecast it as we're doing, and making the right move. So just to kind of correlate what Oliver's saying with the timeline. Real quick to end, we do have a quick little draft animation. I think 3D always helps people visualize what this looks like versus still drawings, and I know I went through a lot of this real quickly as there's a lot of information for this group. What I'll do here is just a quick fly through. It's going to be just going around the building. You can see here we're above I-29, Letter Center over on the far left here, and you can see our project smack dab in the middle. I'm going to do half speed, and then good luck. And so again, we're approaching, the southwest corner of the facility as you see it from I-29, the parking, the large turf volume, the pickleball volume, two really, I think, dynamic, simple volumes of the shed roof as they come together. That articulation of the patterning and the windows, the main entry as we work around towards 42nd. The simple use of materials, sleek. Again, some of that, interesting paneling. In the evening time, that'd be glowing as you would see that down 42nd. On the north side of the building, this is going to be on all four sides. People are going to visit this, so we can see here some of the clear glazing we have. You can see the track elevated there. You would have the ability to see out. And then really that kind of key corner there that you'd have on the elevated walking track there that you have the ability to see out and experience. And of course that activity would be seen, throughout. So just kind of an idea there. Again, it's all about efficiency, talking about what we can do with the budget. Just because we have to get down a budget doesn't mean we sacrifice design. There's a lot of things we can do. And I think that what we've done here is a pretty good job in trying to find a way to make this a very exciting building, a very durable, long-lasting building that we can get done. So with that concludes our presentation. So,
All right, yeah, we'll open up for questions. Probably one that I have off the top. I mean, escalation, obviously, we've seen inflation's hit things pretty hard, starting to come down. But as we get, into bidding, you got $4 million worth of escalation in there. We're going to have bids for this that we're going out for in March, just 2 months away. How much of that do you see dropping off at the next period once you have the bids and the DD done? Do you see that most of that escalation coming off because we'll have hard numbers? Granted, it could be included, but I mean, is that one of the numbers on top of the design development? Maybe they're both cut in half at that point, or where do you think we'll be at come 2 months from now?
Yeah, so escalation, I think, will probably be about half of what we're carrying right now.
Okay.
So we'll have hard numbers on, 30% of the project, plus we'll be a couple months closer to, a couple months further down the road. So it's kind of time and then certainty related on the escalation.
I think most of us are looking at, okay, we've got about almost 6 million over right now, and we got 13.5 million in contingency. So obviously we're all hoping those numbers come together and end up being, right at that 110 or lower. Of course, we all like that. But all right, anybody got questions? Yeah, Ms. Osowski,
Yeah,
please.
I have questions. So these costs do not include the site work, or they do include, is the infrastructure in here or anything, or?
The site infrastructure outside of the building is not included in there. Those haven't been included because they're essentially being funded by
By the taxpayer.
there's a different budget that's outside of the.
I guess I wasn't aware there were two budgets between the infrastructure and the building, actually. I guess when I voted on the project, I thought it would be $100 million for the entire project, not, $116 million for the project, and then we have to pay for infrastructure on top of that. How much is all the infrastructure and site prep gonna be for this entire project?
Mayor Boczynski and Councilmember Osowski. When we presented this previous, we've always said, the building itself is 110 million, so we've said we're planning to bond about 100 million, and then we have the gift from Altru of 10 million plus some other donations in that, so that's how we got to the 110 million. The last time we showed you the infrastructure is all the underground, water, sewer, transportation, parking lots. Most of it's going to be in parking lots, but that was at approximately $10 million project. And so when we've shown you that slide, the funding sources obviously for the water lines is your 5,300 count. For wastewater was 5,200. On the transportation side, 17th Avenue is part of your highway plan, because that's going to be a city street. And then the parking lots itself, the parking lot attributed to, we used economic development funding for those particular projects. So if you look in the previous, and I know we're trying to refine that. So when we talk about 30% of the project, within that 30% is that offsite infrastructure that we intend to build that would support, those three facilities that are in that area.
So we're still pulling out of different funds then for this project?
We are, yep.
I guess I disagree with that. I really wanted to see the full project within our budget, not pulling from one fund to another and trying to get this done. And so I find that very disappointing. Another question, or another thing that really concerns me, is that we're going to bid this in 2 phases. I feel like that is very risky. I mean, if we complete phase 1, we almost have our hands tied that we're going to have to agree to phase 2, because otherwise we'll just be stuck with part of a project being completed. So I find that very concerning also. And then another question that I have is, where's UND? Have they said anything, communicated on how they are going to help fund this project, or any kind of agreement with them on usage?
Mayor Boczynski and Councilmember Osowski. On the first item, we've always said the offsite infrastructure is a separate component. We've used that number with the various revenue sources. We've done that for the last several months. So nothing has changed in that remark. Regarding UND itself, we'll have a user agreement. The one proposal as part of the pool itself, they wanted the deep diving well. They have committed to paying for that portion of the project, and I think that was between $1.5 to $2 million. So they have committed to that. They further committed to, like with all users of this facility, to be a user primarily in the aquatic complex, and they intend to be a user, whether it's their swim club, whether it's with ROTC, all the various users that they have on UND. They have committed to use this this pool. And Councilmember Osowski, I'm trying to remember. Oh, the risk. There is risk. There's absolutely risk. And so what we're in the risk minimizing business without paralyzing ourselves to do nothing. So what our thought is, and all of these decisions have to be made by City Council. So the intent is to first ask you, can we go out and bid 30% of this project? If we get thumbs up on that, we're going to go out and get hard costs on the construction part of that. In the meantime, we're going to take the remaining 70% of the project and get a better construction estimate, what that's going to cost. Then what's going to happen, we're going to come back, I think this is probably in the May timeframe, so that's March, and then we come back in May. We're going to come back with hard bid numbers on that 30%. So we're going to test the construction manager, did you really hit the mark or not? And then within those, so hopefully that's good news. It's within or less than what we anticipated. And then we're going to have a better refined estimate on that remaining 70% come May. So you're going to have a determination at that point in time, the council will, do we want to move forward with the 30% hard bid? And are we comfortable at that point in time with the remaining 70% estimate? How secure do we feel like that we can get this whole project accomplished? And the reason why we're doing this in part and asking you possibly to take a risk is that we could have cost savings. if we can do some of these fundamental early out items, the underground, the structural parts of this project, we can save money as opposed to waiting for everything to be done. We're likely not going to bid this project till August or September, and then we've lost time. And so we're trying to use time to our benefit, but ultimately, all in all this, Councilmember Osowski and City Council members, you're going to make the final determination. We're just trying to help you make the best decisions you can on behalf of the citizens of Grand Forks.
One more question. Where are we at with the agreement with the park board?
We have a near final draft with them, and so we would anticipate when we come back in March that we would have a final agreement with the Park District.
Thank you.
Mr. Veen, your microphone's lit up, please.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. I think, just a couple casual comments here. I think having the $11 million in contingency for both design and estimating and escalation is a positive for us, that we have that at this point. We'd have the ability then to, we need to commit to bringing the project in on budget. I think that's what we've all committed to. It's gearing toward that now. We still got work to do, is the way I see it, to get the project there. But we need to have the project on budget, and especially when we have the April estimate comes in, we'll have a much better idea. If, in fact, we go to the bidding, before we would award that, I think we would also have to have enough contingency available for that final 70 if it weren't on budget. If it stays on budget, then we would be able to add alternates to bring the project up to what needs to be done. So one thing for sure, it's never going to be cheaper to build this than today. It only gets to be more expensive. So the fact that we can try to get a comprehensive program that incorporates all the options, which we've done, including the instructional pool, is important. But I think we need to be, at least I'm convinced, we have to be on budget. And hopefully the process as we've defined it is a way to build it on budget. And if not, we will, again, at the various stopping points, stop and have to re-look at it to assure that we can be there. Because I don't think we have a choice but to be on budget.
Thank you, Mr. Veen. Any further comments from council? We'll go up and down the line here. We'll do Mr. Friedhouse and we'll do Ms. Lunsky. Mr. Friedhouse, please.
Just real quick, I mean, if you realize we've come from summertime on 9/30 from a cost estimate of, let's see, where were we? 133 million all the way down to 115. I think we've done really well. The whole entire team, and I call it a team because we all went out to look at other sites. We went and looked at with the best of breed, and I really think you've done that. I think this will be better than those facilities. I think this is going to be a premier location, but like all of us agree, it definitely has to come in on budget, but from where we've come from summertime in just 3-4 months is phenomenal. And I think if we can, I don't think we're going to continue this great downtrend of cost, but, keeping it in budget is definitely something we need to look at. But I think everyone's done a really good job at getting to where we're at. So thank you.
Ms. Lunsky, please.
I'm just curious if you can estimate the life of the building.
Estimate the life of the building. I think there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I think typically what we're looking at is 40, 50 plus years, right? As we're looking at before you'd have any major, I would say upgrades. You may have some before that, depending on what it is, but what we talk about now is really 50 plus years on things. Some of the warranties you'll have for certain things will be, probably within, that 20, maybe 25 years, depending on what the warranty is on certain things, weather type warranties, color warranties on materials. So you can start to anticipate a little bit there. But typically what we're looking for is a very robust and very durable building that's going to last us, not only to the length of time, but the ability to be able to upgrade it. And I think that's very important to understand too, is that we're ensuring that a lot of the mechanical systems are able to be replaced over time in a very efficient way so that the building can last over 50 years. So when you look at the structure, you look at what we're doing with that, yes, and there will probably be some replacements, but it'll be able to be updated and continue its life past that, as long as it's operated and maintained in a way that it needs to be. And that's the other part of the coin too, right, is making sure that it's done efficiently and it's done well.
And then I just wanted to say, I appreciate the walking track. I think that would be a huge for the community, for the building. But I agree, I really hope we can come in on budget. So, thank you.
All right, any other comments? I think with the amount of work that's been done so far, many of us are just hoping we make it to the opening, and we're still alive at that point. So appreciate all the work. If there's no more questions, well, thank you for your time. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
2.4, Agisto project introduction and update.
Mr. Phelan.
Mayor Paczynski, members of City Council, as John noted, we had a really good meeting this morning regarding the Agisto project with the state or the House Appropriations Committee. And you should know that those members, the feedback that we got, some of its process, how do we process this project through? What kind of not the funding per se, but how do they want to transact this particular project? What we heard this morning was the state of North Dakota wants to help us make this project named Agisto happen. So that's really positive. And they understand that. So I think you have a state government from an administration and legislative leadership that want to make this happen. So that was a really positive. Lots of work to get done through the House side, through the Senate here in the second half, and then through conference committee and hopefully having Governor Armstrong sign a bill here in April, May. But with that, we brought Councilmember Osowski along when last time the Agisto family was here and some of their team was here meeting with the growers. And so what we committed is that when representatives of Agisto were in town, that if there was an opportunity to have them introduced and let them know what they've been working on, we would do that. So we're really honored tonight to have a representative of Agisto who's really worked on the agronomy side of this particular project. Joachim has done a lot of great work with the Northland Potato Group in making things happen. He's been back and forth working with them over the last 2 to 3 years. And as the mayor says, what really won the day were our farmers and our soil. And Joachim was really a key person that worked with Agisto and our farmers when we were comparing our sites in North Dakota versus the sites in Wisconsin. So number one, I want to thank Joachim for all that he's done on behalf of our entire region, and just have him introduce himself to you this evening and maybe talk a little bit about what he's done to get the project to Grand Forks at this point in time. He had to remain objective between the two sites, but just to share all the work that he's done regarding the Agisto facility. So with that, Joachim, would you mind come up and saying a few words?
Okay. Mr. Mayor, City Council, thanks for the opportunity to be here. Thanks to give you a face what Agisto is. I'm one of them. Active here since, Keith mentioned, August 2022. That was my first visit to North Dakota. And before that, I was here, I think in 2000, so 25 years ago, but that was a completely different time. 2022, why was I here? Because I had the task from Agisto, find us a location where we can build a factory in the US. Quite a big area, US and Canada, to be honest. So I visited Idaho, Washington, Alberta, all the states where potatoes are growing. I visited, and after every visit, I reported back to Agisto what my findings were. And when I was here, and I never forget that moment when I was here in 2022, after that visit, I called one of the family members and I said, I cannot report this. You have to join me. Buy a ticket and join me and visit the Midwest. Because we had 3 checkpoints to figure out what the best location was. Is there water available to grow potatoes? Because that is quite fundamental to grow potatoes. And then water available for the coming 50 years. Because we are building a factory for at least 50 years. And then looking to, let's say, global climate change and all those facts, do we have water available to grow potatoes? That was one. Is there land available to grow potatoes? Additional land, because we don't want to fight with the competition about that last acre of land. Is there additional land available? And the third, and I think that is even the most important one, do we fit in that culture? Is that a culture where we feel home and where we can make a business? And maybe that sounds strange, but for us, I think that is the key factor. That is the key point. As a Belgian company, building a factory far away from home, And imagine that we have to visit that factory every month, and every month we have to say, shit, I have to go there again. It will never work. So you have to feel home, specifically for a family-owned company like Agisto is. Agisto is a real family company, not, let's say, a family company where nobody knows the highest in the ranking. No, we are a family company run by the second generation, 5 family members, still young people, and 30, beginning of 40, and those 5 are running the business. We had 2 founders, one had 2 children and the other 3, so the 5 of them are running the business. And that's the whole top of the organization. They are running in the factory, they are active everywhere, everybody knows them by name, so we don't have 6 or 7 layers where nobody knows the highest in the ranking. No, we are a very down-to-earth, simple organization. And that family wants to feel home. That family has chosen, yes, let's go for North Dakota. We had a meeting the 23rd of December. That was the moment where we had to decide which state will it be. And that was a unanimous decision. Let's go for North Dakota. That's why we are here.
Will you take a question, Mr. Rovers?
Feel free.
I have his phone number, so I'll
Okay.
call him anyways.
Wait, one second before, I know, just, I guess, talk about this visit real quickly, and then we'll get to that. Talk about this visit. What are you doing at this time? Are you meeting with farmers, getting some contracts done? What's the work you're doing while you're here this time?
I think I'm a regular visitor in the meantime. I've been here many times the last 2 years, and now after the decision is taken that it will be North Dakota, now it starts. The first 2 years was the easy part. But now we have to develop that whole raw material supply chain to the factory. So what am I doing this week? I have meeting with 25 commercial growers for commercial production, 6 seed growers to develop, on one hand, the seed pipeline for the seed production for all our varieties. And I like to make the first contracts with commercial growers, because also making a contract for us is a trial, because it's new. We've never did it in the US. So this year we will work with about 25 farmers. Not that we have a factory, but we want to grow together with them potatoes, because we are growing varieties which are not, let's say, common in this area. So we are helping, we are assisting, and in that way we are developing that supply chain to have, let's say, 40, 50 growers in 2027 who can supply our factory in that time. And it is potato production, it is potato storage, because nice to have potatoes, but we have to store them. So looking to the total program, yes, it is quite an investment to build that factory, but I think what has to happen on the farmer side is more or less the same dimension, the same amount of money. So that is what I try to develop together with them. And that is based on trust, that is based on communication. So that's why I'm here, and you can find me back here, I think, almost every month. So I will be your most regular visitor from Belgium.
All right, well, thank you for that. Thank you for being here tonight as well. Really appreciate it. Ms. Osowski, please.
Hi, I had the pleasure of meeting you last month, so welcome back to North Dakota.
Thank you.
When we were speaking a little bit earlier, you stated that you're going to be setting up offices here in Grand Forks now, correct?
Yeah, I started this week, and I mentioned to a few people already, I feel a little bit homeless, because yes, I'm here, but I have to organize all kinds of meetings, and I have nothing today. So step by step, yes, one of the first things is having an office, having a location from where we can work out. So yes, that will be one of the first steps.
Where will that be?
No idea.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm honest
that
as it is. First of all, we have to decide on where that final factory will be built. That is not
my
100%
next
clear.
question is, have you guys came to a decision on where that factory will be built? And if it is the old Fufang or the Fufang property, have you made any kind of agreements with them on the land? No agreements with Fufeng? And no decision yet on where you're going to be built?
No, what was announced when I was here the 6th of January is yes, the decision at that moment was we will go exclusively for North Dakota for the further negotiations. We still had a few open points, what we had to discuss with City of Grand Forks and the state of North Dakota. We had a discussion with BNSF, also that was mentioned, and at the moment that is all cleared. That is the moment for us that we can decide, okay, now we have to buy that piece of land. Not in the other way around. So we first have to clear that all, and then we will buy the land.
When will you make a decision?
I guess that all will happen, let's say, within the coming month, the coming 1.5 months, something like that.
Okay, and then you will decide on exactly what piece of property you want to purchase?
Yes.
Okay, so next month,
Yeah.
you'll settle.
And we are full speed. Don't worry about that. But some
Okay.
things need time.
Another question, or maybe I don't know if this is a question or not. I would like a full list of people from Agisto that are able to speak on behalf of Agisto and make decisions. Obviously, I know you are one of them, I'm assuming, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I would like a full list of people that are allowed to speak for your company also, if that would be
And
possible.
that is what I mentioned to you earlier. We are here on a regular basis and open to listen, open to talk. And in case there are questions, feel free to contact us and we will try to clarify all what is possible.
Thank you. Yes, you gave me your business card. I appreciate that.
That's what I did, yes.
One thing that was stated, not by your company, but I believe by the potato growers, that I believe it should be about around 300 jobs is the estimate that I was given in the past. And the person who was speaking stated that your company has people ready to move here for accounting and to help run the business and everything like that. That's correct, right?
Yes, but let's be clear. The company will be run by a local team.
Perfect.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
We will. Of course, it is part of let's say the global Agisto organization.
Right.
So yes, there will be a CFO from Europe checking and controlling, but the business will be run locally.
Okay, I guess my question was how many of the higher end jobs will be offered to our citizens versus bringing people in?
100%.
100%?
Yes.
Okay.
What we will do is, I'm here now. We had last time one of our guys who was going to build that factory, who will be responsible for the whole construction project. He will move in somewhere the coming months together with his wife and 2 small kids.
Okay.
But also that is temporarily. He will maybe be here for 3 or for 4 years, and when everything is done and everything is organized, then it will be a company run and managed by a local team.
Okay, and I wanted to ask Agisto this directly, I guess. It is my understanding that you guys have agreed to file a declaration with CFIUS. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of that, but I hear something.
Councilmember Osowski, we did have a meeting. Joachim was not in the meeting, but with their business folks, we did have a meeting with them talking about a few things to include the CFIUS request. And so we did follow up with the information, and the word I got back is they intend to follow through as per the guidance.
Okay, I greatly appreciate that. Once again, that would be nice to have the list of those people then, because I guess now I'm hearing that the person who is speaking on behalf of Agisto isn't aware of that. So I'm a little concerned
Yeah.
about.
Well,
that
Councilmember
portion,
Osowski,
but-
Joachim's here for agronomy, not
Okay.
for the business transaction. Obviously, they're a large family-owned company, and so there's many people that are moving forward with this project. So the people that we spoke with was their CFO and their chief legal counsel, and so those are the 2 individuals that we spoke to and
Will
provided
they
guidance.
be around to answer any questions at some
They will.
point, or?
They will.
All right.
And I think what we can do is, you asked for a list of people. We will
Yes,
put
sir.
their roles behind it. so that
Yes,
you know
sir.
exactly where they are responsible for.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Rovers or comments? Well, thanks for spending your time at the Grand Forks City Council meeting on a Monday night, you and many others, so
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, item 3, there are none, so we will move on to item 4, citizen comments as they relate to action items. Any comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark?
We have 2 for this section tonight. First one, Augustus Ward.
All right, Mr. Ward, please. Yeah, just click there should be a button there to get the red light on, and then you can. Thank you. And then you'll be able to see a timer up there for 5 minutes, so if you're wondering where you're at from time, you can look up to the left or to the right.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, first of all, good evening and thank you. Thank you all for what you do, and thank you to all our other civil servants that are here this evening. Right now, I'd like to read something that was from a friend of mine. It's not necessarily my words, but I agree with him, and I thought it should be said. Members of the council, Mr. Mayor, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens, I stand in opposition to this letter of intent and encourage council members to vote no. I would be supportive of a letter allowing the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians to construct and operate any of the facilities mentioned, but I encourage the council members to not support the construction of a Class 3 casino in Grand Forks. I oppose the building of a casino in and around Grand Forks for 3 reasons. First, the project is expressed to be a multi-use facility, including a family activity center, event center, convenience store, gas station, and hotel. While this is common practice for this kind of facility, it comes with a major issue: the normalization of gambling into everyday life. Consider this, council members. With a Class 3 casino, players in the casino are betting that they beat the Turtle River Mountain Band of Chippewa. By nature, this creates hostility and encourages the most primal stupidity and reckless foolishness found in most casinos. Just one more pull, just one more spin, just one more hand, and I'll get the better of them. That's not the kind of relationship I wish to have with the fine Chippewa people, and it's certainly not one I wish to have next to a bowling alley where kids play while mom and dad burn their savings away. The second reason to vote against this LOI is the lack of financial information available and the opportunity for the community to react to this news, cross-check the information from May 2022 market assessment, and ask questions such as impact on crime, net increase in city tax revenue, and the location near to the shopping center. Finally, the culture impact on Grand Forks. I moved to Grand Forks in 2008, and next year I will have lived in Grand Forks longer than my childhood years in Massachusetts. I went to the University of UND in Grand Forks, worked in Grand Forks, well, he works in Grand Forks, started several businesses in Grand Forks, volunteer in Grand Forks, and attend church here in Grand Forks. Grand Forks is my home, and I chose to live here in this tundra for 2 reasons. First, we have an exceptional group of people that live here that we love. Second, because we are quiet people, simple, and family-focused. And the next will be my words. Proverbs 13:11 says, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. A casino cultivates and encourages foolishness, and the worst downward spirals lead to debt, drunkenness to drown out the loss, and even destroyed families. I think Grand Forks should encourage business endeavors that promote the common good, not ones that can lead to harm. I hope you all will take these things into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Willetsko.
Mr. Let's go. Give me 1 second. I'm going to clear your time, and you can go ahead and start, sir.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I appreciate the words of that man that just spoke. I do see this as a kind of a question of a difference between going down the road of having a Pottersville or a Bedford Falls. When I listened to the tape earlier on of the previous meeting, there was only about 3 seconds made by Mr. Bean to mention any kind of a social consequence issue of any import. The rest was all about economic development and money. And once you guys start playing with these people And what I like to see in this letter of intent, because I know it's going to probably go forward, is that you have a much more robust, critical, skeptical, cynical point of view about money. You're talking about gambling. This is a gambling den. That's all it really is. And when money comes into play like that, you start digging on the internet, you find things out about things like these management companies. The one that they want to hire, they mentioned Hera. Sure, Hera's licensed by the National Indian Gaming Council. But the other one isn't that I know of. And these people rake the money off the top. And you might say, well, that's between them. That doesn't matter. But it's all at the root of money. And when this money comes out, it's not going to be helping the community. And I guess I stand here as someone who have a little booklet. I like to gamble. Years ago, in the mid-90s, I picked up a side business running a limousine. And one of the things we did is I drove people to the casinos. Now I'm 75 years old. I never gambled in my life, so put that at around, I don't know, what am I, at 55 years old. But when I went in the doors of that casino, I realized they wanted to give me money to play. And I started playing, and I realized if I don't watch what I'm doing, I'm going to go down the road of another family member of mine who is part of the 90% of the people, no matter what they'll say about providing some money for help counseling to people that might need it. It's all just a screen, because 90% of the people, according to the internet anyway, and I believe it, because I bet you know lots of people. I know people that spend thousands of dollars a year on gambling, thousands and thousands, and they don't think they have a problem. But what that gentleman alluded to, what it does to the fabric of the community in creating a Potterville is unconscionable. And I think you guys, in accepting the letter of intent as written, which says something to the effect that it's for economic development and revitalization of Grand Forks, I don't call that a real skeptical partnership on your behalf, from your side. I think that if you're going to really represent the citizens of Grand Forks, you ought to look at this very seriously and take that out of there and not accept that wording as the goal point from which you're going to operate. Because if that's it, it's all downhill from here. And as I said to you in the text I sent to you, I think one didn't get it, that you're just going to be dominoes falling down the road of what's going to transpire. And hey, I can accept a healthy discussion, and yes, go ahead and look at this, some of you have said, well, we can't just turn it down. Not look. I see that you're already going down the road. Like as alluded to, I said that Todd Phelan is speaking for you, Mr. Mayor. Apparently, this is something that, in the way this is framed, is that you believe that this is worth pursuing. I don't see a healthy skepticism emerging from this unless you at least change that wording. And from there, I would urge you to, if you're going to look at this, really see the ramifications, because what it's going to be as far as a drain to the churches who will have less money in their collection boxes on Sunday because someone gambled the night before, and the families that are going apart and splitting apart, and children not getting fed, and divorces, and all the things that you will never hear about, because like all the people that I know, none of them ever sought counseling. And I'm grateful that I have, by the way, it's $10.51 a month is what I gamble. So, but without this check on myself, I think I would go down the road that gentleman alluded to. And a lot of people already have, and they're not going to get that count, they're not going to get that help. And you're going to see, if you don't deal with this in the proper way, we're going to have a Pottersville. And you're up against an entity that has no accountability. If you ever try to find out where this money actually goes, I fish at Cass Lake, and to Cass Lake for 65 years of my life. And I don't think anything that I can see has hardly changed. The only thing that I gave a big hoorah over at the casino was the fact that they had they're doing a rice manufacturing plant, because they took the money and put it to creating legitimate good jobs for people. Otherwise, it just seems like it's just it's not very helpful to communities. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Let's go. Clear that. Any further comments, Ms. Lundmark? All right. So move on to item 5, which is action items. Anything else? We'll obviously pull 5.9. The other items council wants pulled for further discussion this evening. Just give you a moment to review. All right. right, seeing none, we'll look for a motion then to approve items 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, and 5.8. Got a motion from Mr. Veen, we got a second from Mr. Friedolfs. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. So we are on to item 5.9, Ms. Dorstad.
Turtle Mountain Band, a Chippewa letter of intent with the attachments. Thank you.
Mr. Phelan, please.
Mayor Buchansky, members of City Council, just wanted to note a few things two things that we added. One is to the agenda item. One is Senate Bill number 2376. That is the bill that will be heard on Wednesday morning regarding the addition of Grand Forks County as part of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Gaming Compact. Number two, we did follow up with, based upon our feedback last week, we attached a frequently asked questions item. And I would just note some of the things that we noted on there. We did collaborate with representatives from the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, for some of the representatives on these answers. And I think we are in alignment. This is a first step among several steps. And, people have even said hundreds of steps, so we'll see how far we get past today. So we just wanted to highlight, number one, is there's been a lot of discussion about how we're going to pay for things. And so as we have commitment from the tribe that as part of our host service agreement that the city would own the infrastructure. They would pay for it, either upfront or through long-term special assessments and that sort of thing. Number two, city services. So as part of this host service agreement, that they would pay for city services, whether they're public safety, public works, or otherwise. As part of it, we talked about, what would be put into trust of the 146 acres. That's to be determined, but as much of the land as possible, we want to keep in city annexed land and not into trust. That land that's put into trust, they would pay an equivalent for property taxes that would not normally be taxed. So we all agree with that. The other concern that we had is charitable gaming. We had a really positive opportunity to meet with the charitable gaming folks here in Grand Forks, and we had several of them. And thanks to Sherry Lundmark, Mayor Buchansky, and I met with them, and they do have concerns. I think the general sentiment is they're not a yes or no for the project moving forward, but there's lots of due diligence to move forward. What we've emphasized is this letter of intent allows us to start to dig into the pluses and minuses of this particular project. Some of their main concerns, and I think the Mayor Buchansky mentioned this, is workforce. We know that workforce is tight, so the concern is that if you have somebody working in their organization and they get a better opportunity in this organization, that they may lose employees. The other thing is that we talked about is loss of revenue, and so obviously they're performing well through what they're doing, and they're concerned about this not being a positive sum, and that obviously the resort itself will be on the positive side, and it'll take from them and put them on the negative side. So those are all the things we discussed with them, that we want to make sure that as part of any agreement that we protect organizations that will be impacted, and that's all a part of us asking you as City Council. We are asking you to move forward with the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa and exploring the first steps of moving forward with these various agreements and looking at the pluses and minuses. I also want to make note that there are representatives here this evening from the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa, including Chairman Asher. So I want to welcome them. So with that, Mayor, I'll turn it back over to City Council.
Sounds good. I'll open it up to comments. I just would want to make a quick comment. I know Mr. Willetsko had email or text messaged me as well, and I think he makes some good points, and I do think that there will be a considerable amount of skepticism in all the steps moving forward. And I think that's the due diligence that this LOI is kicking off. And maybe Mr. Phelan, you can speak to that and what the LOI is and what it isn't, because I think there's been confusion over that. I mean, I read section 1.
I would say, Mayor Buchansky, number one, it's non-binding. And so it's a 3-page document, really having the City Council authorize us from the legislative branch for the administration to work on the various component parts of this and bring the project back to you. And so that's really what it is. It's non-binding, but it allows us to engage formally with the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa on this particular project allows us to engage, for example, on Wednesday at a hearing and represent the city of Grand Forks that we are engaged in a letter of intent and are working in good faith to see if this is a good project, not only for those that are on the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa side, but also the city of Grand Forks and our region side. This allows us to do that. And so that's really what we're asking you tonight. I know, on the other hand, and people want all the answers, but if we brought back all the answers to you this evening, you'd probably ask us, why didn't we know something about this project? So we don't have all the answers. However, it's a long road, and we as the administration, these projects take a lot of effort, a lot of tenacity, a lot of grit, a lot of determination to do them, and we got a lot of things going on. And so this is really a test of the city council. Are we seriously want to move down this path? And if not, and if it's a no, what our answer is to a developer in this case, which is the tribe, that the city council says they don't want to move forward with even considering this project. So that's where we're at this evening. And we want to bring these projects to you sooner rather than later. We want to bring them to the light of day so people know that we're possibly working on these things. So I think this is what the city council has asked for in the past.
Thank you, Mr. Phelan. So, any comments from council?
I have
Ms.
questions.
Osowski, please.
Are they gonna, will the Turtle Mountain Reservation be answering questions or no?
They certainly can, yeah. Mr. Agier, or who's the best, I guess who would be the best? Are you?
Hello, Mr. Agier. I first have to say, as soon as I left the meeting last Monday, I saw your commercial on TV, so it was pretty funny.
That wasn't planned, was it?
No, but I sat down, I went out to eat, and I looked up, and my mom's like, there's the guy from the council meeting. I'm like, there he is, about not smoking. Is that what it's on, or?
It is, and I hate to say it, but I will be annoying people across the nation now. I okayed it to go nationwide. So
It's a very nice commercial. I like it
thank
a
you.
lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. I guess a question that I have is, are there any other investors in this project besides Turtle Mountain? I don't know the full name, besides TMBCI.
Are there any more investors currently? No, we have not moved forward into into that level of agreements. So this is literally one of the very first steps of moving forward in many steps.
Okay, so there could be other investors in the project besides the Turtle Mountain?
Oh, this is Alicia LeCount. She's one of our in-house attorneys.
I am the in-house attorney. Only a tribe can own a facility, but
Okay.
we would have to seek out investment from banks, like a regular opportunity to grow a business.
Okay, thank you so much. I guess all the concerns that I stated last week, my main concern is, the tax revenue that we would be losing as a city. At this point, I still don't feel very comfortable that any agreement that we get into is going to be able to stand up in a court of law, and that is something that I am concerned about. I normally don't speak on social issues because it really isn't my thing, but I do have a lot of the same concerns that the two people came up and spoke about socially. The other thing is I know after speaking with people that everybody's like, or not everybody, but people were like, well, we're not really getting into an agreement, and it's just, kind of saying that we're going to move forward. But every agreement that we get into costs us money. We pay Mr. Gosted's law firm to write these things up. We pay city staff to go and meet with these people. And so I guess I'm not willing to continuously kick the can down the road on this project and eat away at our city tax dollars. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Osowski. Any other questions from the council? We got Chairman Agier up there.
Yeah.
Yep, Ms. Berg, please.
How would it look for
law enforcement, is there like some sort of agreement where Grand Forks law enforcement would be able to come and provide services as needed, or is it just BIA?
Well, that's a great question. To begin with, the third-party operator, well, the manager, would initially handle basic security needs at the complex, and further agreements such as a MOA or MOUs, Memorandum of Understandings, or agreements would be entered into with the appropriate law enforcement agency that provides law enforcement services to the project. The land that is not in trust is subject to current law enforcement oversight. So it would be kind of a mix, I would say. But that's a great question. And did I answer the question?
Yeah. And then overall, I just want to express that I'm very interested in exploring this further, but I think at some point we really need to have the public determine if we fully move forward for this or not. And I'm just not sure at what point, like, do we go to a vote or something with the public?
Thank you, Ms. Berg. Further discussion from council members? Mr. Veen.
Mayor, first of all, I appreciate getting some of the additional information that we had today versus what we had last week. It's helpful to see some of the efforts that have gone in so far. As I recall, I think some of the dates those studies were done were probably 2022.
Yeah.
So they haven't been updated. So it appears this has been in the works for a while, that we've started the studying, and you've kind of, now brought it to the council for a decision, again, based on a letter of intent.
Well, we knew there'd be a lot of questions. We did have the benefit of going back and looking at the questions that have been asked before when this has been brought up. We didn't want to come to the city council and waste time, like was mentioned before. We wanted to come in with already some of the information to the questions that would be asked that was previously asked. I thought the gentleman from Belgium made a good comment earlier when he said does the culture fit? So does the culture fit for a true partnership between the city of Grand Forks and the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians? So that's another big question that we're asking here today. I'm human. When I heard some of the comments that were just spoken before we came up, that kind of struck me a little bit too. So the tribe does so much, and these people comments, these people go to UND, right? That's our tribal members. These people are professionals in the city of Grand Forks across the board. We have a few that are sitting in here today. These people contribute to the local schools for cultural diversification so that the next generations coming up do not say these people, right? We are here as a business owner. We are here trying to provide opportunity of two groups coming together for a unique opportunity that nobody else can bring forward. If we do this right, we do this together, we do this open communication, we put the data on the table, that will guide us if this is going to be profitable, if it's going to be good culture for the two entities that are standing in here today between the city of Grand Forks and our tribe. So I wasn't going to mention anything on that level, but that kind of struck me a little deep because I have two daughters that are watching this tonight on a stream, and they're 18 years old and they're 13 years old. So, moving forward, I hope that a lot of the questions that were asked, like, is the tribe itself able to show where funds from our casinos go? Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot of our gaming pick up where the social services in our communities really drop. So 20% of those, right off the top, 20% of our gaming revenues go right back into a general account at the tribe that gets dispersed across all of our social services. Building up our community, building up our roads, building up, if in our community right now, we have built up in the last 10 years bigger and quicker than we have in the previous 25. Our tribe isn't coming forward asking and coming forward and saying, you know, we need to do this. Our tribe is coming forward, extending an olive branch, saying this is an opportunity that the data says can work. All we're asking is for that next step to move forward. We can put that data all on the table. We can answer a lot of those questions that were asked right before this. And we can work together to bring something beautiful to this community.
If I could, and after the meeting last week, I had a chance to talk to you, which I appreciated, and I kind of explained the issue for me had been the letter of intent versus what I was looking as a letter of interest.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know more. I don't feel knowledgeable to say a letter of intent.
Yeah.
And it may be a little bit of the chicken and the egg, but that's kind of the rationale, getting more information, making informed decision based on good data. That's what's going to be most critical for us.
I appreciate that comment. If you ever get to talk to me away from this podium, data matters. We live by that. Data matters. So data is what drives, and that's how we're able to move forward as a tribe so quickly in the last 10 years.
All right, any other questions for the chairman? All right, thank you. Thank you for coming up here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sorry, Alicia, I was going to let her talk more this time, but
Maybe you can pay her less. Maybe that works out. Those lawyers, tell you what. All right, open up for any further comment or motions by council, so.
Make a motion to approve the letter of intent.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Weigel, second from Mr. Friedholz, and then I'll look for any further discussion. All right, well, seeing none, Ms. Storrs, I'd want you, if you want to do a roll call, yes, no vote, that would be appreciated.
Okay. Weigel?
Yes.
Osowski?
No.
Berg?
Yes.
Lunsky?
Yes.
Friedels?
Yes.
Veen?
No.
And I believe President Sandy is no longer on.
All right, the motion passes 4-2 with Osowski and Veen dissenting. Thank you. All right, move on to item 6, information items. There are none. So item 7, approval of minutes and bills.
7.1, vendor list and engineer's estimate. And I'm sorry.
We got a motion to approve?
Well, I guess I have a question. Do we normally get this little attachment with the vendor bills?
Yes, that's included each time you approve.
So we pay 180, almost 182,000 on Wells Fargo credit cards a month?
Our credit card system is through Wells Fargo, but that's our purchasing card system. So what we have is a rebate program. So we actually earn money back by using the program. So we encourage that, and we actually have a $40,000 budgeted line item in general fund for money we get back on those purchases.
All right, I move approval.
We got a motion to approve from Ms. Osowski, second from Ms. Berg. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Looks like is there no minutes this evening?
7.2 is removal, bring those to the next meeting.
Why?
They weren't ready, I'm guessing?
We've been pretty good.
I don't want this to be a habit that we are missing meeting minutes. We were behind for months.
Ms. Osowski, please.
Sorry.
Has to be recognized, and I know the council has asked for that in the past, and they've done a great job of keeping up. If you would like to say something, please, Ms. Osowski, go ahead.
Well, I think I got out what I wanted to say. I don't want to see us skipping minutes because we let it go way too far last time.
We do not intend this to be a common occurrence, but it was just a matter of things that had to happen this time. So we will make sure that's on the next item.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Mayor
Ms. Osowski.
Mayor Wojciechowski.
Mr. Phelan, please.
On the minutes, so Sherry does a lot of work over here as our city clerk. So at Friday at 5, she wasn't quite done with the minutes. And I told her, Sherry, why don't you leave work? You have somewhere to go. We can postpone them to the following city council meeting because we've demonstrated our good faith in getting those done. So just so you know, that's what happened at Friday at 5 o'clock. I said, Sherry, you need to get out of here, so thank you.
So it's Mr. Phelan's fault, and Ms. Lundmark wanted to enjoy her weekend, so there we had a new villain. Thank you, Mr. Phelan. All right, we will move on then to citizen comments of the general nature. Do we have any citizen comments this evening, Ms. Lundmark?
I have two this evening. First one, Jody Carlson.
All right. I think we got an email request. Did you have a chair available for Ms. Carlson?
I stood up. I've been down.
Do you want us to have a chair ready? Are you sure?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I was on ice before I got
All
here.
right.
Thank you very much for that.
No problem.
Is that, okay. I'm going to talk very fast, and I will start out by saying good evening. Our mayor mentioned at the last city council meeting that a pilot or payment in lieu of taxes is a generic term and does not mean an incentive. He is somewhat correct. I think what he meant to say is that it does not always mean a tax exemption. A pilot tax exemption extension is also an incentive, and I believe that's what they're considering or has been discussed potentially for the casino. My research, including conversations with state departments and my interpretation of pilot incentives, I'll take a breath, includes three options according to North Dakota Century Code 40-57.1, which is titled Tax Incentives for New and Expanding Businesses. This law explains and allows tax exemptions for property sales and income tax. It also identifies the multiple local and state boards and departments that are supposed to be involved in the approval process. My documents show that our current city council somehow circumvents these requirements. According to state law, the three options for a pilot property tax incentive include: one, a complete exemption, which is a 100% tax abatement for a period not to exceed 5 years, 10 years if ag commodities are involved. Two is a partial 5-year exemption, again, 10 years if ag commodities are involved. Three is, in addition to or instead of an exemption, a city may establish a payment in lieu of taxes. The city will designate the amount of payments, not exemptions, for each year. The option to make payments in lieu of taxes may not extend beyond the 20th year from the start of operations. This does not allow a 20-year exemption. It allows a tax payment that can extend up to 20 years. I have attempted to communicate about the legal requirements of a pilot incentive with the city for almost 3 years, but my concerns have been disregarded. Emails have gone unanswered. The city, under the legal oversight of Dan Gosted, has continued to violate the requirements of North Dakota law and has now offered 3 more legal incentives: Epitome Energy 15 years, Agisto 20 years, and Cirrus 10 years. In order for the city to approve and offer a tax incentive, the county commission and the school board must authorize it. In an attempt to stop this overreach that has an impact on all taxpayers, not just homeowners, I have filed a fraud complaint with the Grand Forks County Commission as well as the school board for signing off on illegal pilot tax incentives. I believe the county and the school board have authorized these incentives, being unaware of the law and trusting the city council in presenting that to them. According to my communications, requested FOIA documents, and my interpretation, the city has failed to comply with the following requirements of the law: exceeding the maximum 5 or 10 year, if it's ag commodities, pilot incentive, providing pilots to projects that do not have the required primary sector certification or do not qualify as a primary sector business through the North Dakota Department of Commerce. These include such developments as Memorial Village 1 and 2, Olive Ann, Block 5, Pure Development, and more, that did not qualify for pilots, are not primary sector businesses, but yet were granted pilot incentives. Failure to comply with the requirement of notice to competitors, failure to comply with the requirement to receive notice from the North Dakota Tax Department that the business has no outstanding tax obligations, failure to comply with the requirement to submit the pilot application to the state tax commissioner and the director of tax equalization, which is the last page of the pilot application that Marine is responsible to send in. for review and their final approval from the State Board of Equalization, which includes the governor, the lieutenant governor, the state treasurer, the ag commissioner, the tax commissioner, and the state auditor. I also have an email from Ms. Lundmark, not meaning to throw you under the bus, Sherry, I don't think you were aware of this, admitting that the city does not have, nor does it request, the required documentation according to the state statute that is required to grant pilot incentives. Per my fraud complaint, I met with the Grand Forks County State's Attorney, the county administrator, and 2 commissioners on January 31st and presented my documents. It was requested for them to review the law prior to authorizing any further pilot incentives. And as allowed under the Century Code, I will also be pursuing enforcement of the revocation or reduction
Thank you, Ms. Carlson.
of previous
Your 5
pilot-
minutes has been
This is the
completed.
last sentence.
We've got
Previous
another
pilots
person.
and TIFs offered by the city which
Ms.
violated the
Carlson,
requirements
you've been a repeat
of
offender.
the
Your time
Century
has been
Code
completed, Ms.
and are
Carlson.
not determined to be primary sector business.
Ms. Carlson, please follow the rules we've established here. We have another speaker that would like to go
For
after
you
you.
as well as anyone
Ms.
else,
Carlson,
I
your-
have
your time has been
documents
completed. Thank
if you
you.
would like to see them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Carlson.
Sean Beauclair.
Could you start the clock when I get ready to speak, please?
The clock hasn't started yet, Mr. Beauclair.
I just clarify
Okay,
from
now it
previous
started. Thank you.
situations, Mayor
Clock has
Brzezinski,
started.
where you started when I was walking up to the podium. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Do you ever feel like somebody's telling you something you're not listening? I assume you're sitting in for the city attorney, sir. You didn't take a single note. I want to say something very important. Never miss a good opportunity to listen to an intelligent woman. Never miss a good opportunity to listen to intelligent women.
Mr. Beauclair, if you could address the council, please.
I will
Thank you.
address whoever I like, sir. It is my time, not yours.
Please continue, Mr. Beauclair.
Do you realize the risk you're exposing to yourself to by not following the law? Let me ask you this. When's the last time I've been wrong up here? I spoke over 27 times. I'm 27 wins, 0 losses. I'm telling you, pay attention to law. Get a second opinion. It appears to be, are you familiar with Bill 1505 or 1360? To me, that's a bill when somebody wants to take money out of the citizen's pocket and then they want forgiveness for it. Let me go ahead and do it. I will send that to you because I'd like official city position. Do you support that bill or not? Do you support that bill or not? So moving on, payment in lieu of taxes for Memorial Village. It does not qualify any way, shape, or form. Do you remember Robert Doobie with Eklund and Blando? Does that name ring a bell? I've engaged him on behalf of UND students and all the taxpayers of North Dakota. You think I'm kidding around? You look a little tight, Mr. Phelan. I wonder why. Let me just clarify, if I could speak to somebody who I admire, and that would be, are you familiar with the new FBI director? Who's likely to be Kash Patel? How about Senator John Kennedy from the wonderful state of Louisiana? I encourage you to look at that conversation of his confirmation hearing, Kash Patel. Go to Forbes on YouTube and look at that exchange that's occurring. That is relevant to this room. You know why? I repeatedly try to contact the FBI underneath the Biden administration. You know how many times I called back? 0. You know what Kash Patel says? You call, we'll call back. It's not the same administration. It's justice for America for all. Have I got your attention? You think maybe you should get a second opinion regarding the city's attorney? Do you remember the first time I spoke and I said, you'll be financially liable, right? If you don't stop somebody stealing from the citizens. You are stealing from the citizens when you don't follow the law. You may or may not be putting that in your own pocket. It doesn't matter. It comes out of the citizen's pocket. Senator John Kennedy uses a little colorful language. Let me see if I can connect. So the city attorney in his firm is Daniel Gossett, Pearson and Christensen. When I think of his work, not individual, his work, D stands for dates, right? He does an excellent job keeping the dates, meeting people. It also refers to a date. You know what a difference between a date and a fig is, or a prune? It doesn't matter, the experience is the same. Gossett, G, gifts, grift, and garbage. You know what the biggest piece of garbage he produced here was when he attacked the First Amendment, and you guys all supported that, restricting our free speech right up here. Moving on, Pearson, P for planning. You guys do a phenomenal job of planning. Core competency without a doubt. Core competency. Christensen, C, conflict of interest. Christensen's never had a conflict of interest. Amazing. Just to clarify, S-E-N, it's E as an error, not O for omission, E an error, O for emission. All right. Let me summarize his work this way, and this would be something if you listen to John Kennedy would say. Right. The city attorney's work is like Swiss cheese that's 3 years past its prime. Folds of holes so big, mice can crawl through it, and a stench so
All right,
strong
thank you
not
for
only
that,
from
Mr.
Bismarck
Berclair. Your
to
time's
Washington,
been completed.
D.C.
Your 5 minutes is up, and that concludes our
I look
citizen
forward to
comment
when
period.
your full
Is there any
time's
other
up,
comments,
sir.
Ms. Lundmark? All right, thank you for that. Moving on to 9, city administrator comments. Mr. Phelan, please try to follow that up.
Nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to 10, mayor and council member comments. Any comments this evening, Ms. Osowski?
Yeah, I have a couple. I brought up some issues last week or some questions about the pilot program. And so once again, I'm going to publicly ask for a presentation on the difference between pilots, TIFs, what actually the state law is, so that we can all be on the same page. So I would greatly appreciate that. Also, this weekend, I got a chance to watch the Grand Cities Children's Choir sing at Hope Church this weekend, and they all did a wonderful job. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Osowski. Ms. Berg, any comments this evening?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lunsky, any comments this evening? Mr. Friedhoffs? Mr. Veen? All right, President Sandy is not here, so you are officially sort of the president, so.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Vice President Weigel has nothing. All right. Mayor and council member comments. I just want to thank everyone for being here today. It was a good discussion, definitely more good discussions to come, but I appreciate the engagement and a lot of positive things moving the community forward. I think it's really excited to see the things that are coming to Grand Forks, so I just want to thank everybody for being here and getting to be a part of that and seeing the sausage made. So with that,
I move
I look for a
adjournment.
motion to adjourn. Motion from Ms. Osowski. Do we have a second? Mr. Friedhoffs. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously.